This is what we promised all of you regarding college football in June, and it's just starting to simmer. It's just starting to heat up, and it's going to explode here pretty soon. So get set. Here's our 20th edition of Nebraska Cornhuskers Live. We can only make this possible for all of you Nebraska fans because of Greg Peterson's contributions from Husker Online. Greg, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Mark. I love it. It's football in June. I couldn't be happier.
Absolutely, because it's such a dead time right now. We're trying to think of things to talk about, but we're going to have too much to talk about, again, concerning all of college football across the board. Let's focus in on Nebraska, of course. Everybody leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics there in the chat. We've got plenty to talk about, but you know what the deal is. You ultimately produce the show, so I will get as many questions and comments to Greg as possible, and who knows, I may have something to say about it as well. And we would ask everyone to like this video before you get settled in and listening to the conversation. Please like the video, share these video links out on social media as well. Let everyone know that we're here every Tuesday night talking Nebraska football, and we appreciate everybody's contributions, whether that be in any such way. All right, tight end has been a good position for Nebraska recruiting in recent years. Chase Androff is the latest. Got him at 6'6", 230, 13 offers according to Rivals. Some decent schools out there. Kansas State, Iowa State, Michigan State, UCF have offered, but he is committed to the Huskers.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. We've talked so many times, I think, on this show about how important it is to get that official visit, to get that guy on campus, and to commit this quickly. That you're seeing that because with that visit weekend we just had last weekend, yesterday afternoon, all of a sudden he pulls the trigger, and which actually surprised everybody that he did it that quick, because he was scheduled to go on an official visit to Michigan State this weekend, which he has now canceled. And he was also scheduled to go to TCU in a couple of weeks for a camp down there. So, boom. Cowbell for the Husker recruiting staff. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from this is that, he didn't have any intentions of committing this quickly. And his mom actually is the one who said, hey, that conversation that we had with Coach Frost after the camp impressed her so much, and he just decided right there, then and there, that that's the place that was for him. So yeah, kudos for the coaching staff. And this isn't the first one. This isn't the first domino to fall. There's more to come here. Absolutely, I wish I could share more at this point. But yeah, there's lots going on right now, and getting Androff. What's really cool about this story too is that he's from Lakewood, Colorado. He's from Minnesota, and he's from the same high school that Bryce Benhart went to, starting offensive tackle at Nebraska. So you're looking at opening up kind of a pipeline to a school that's producing a lot of prospects as well in a neighboring state, in an enemy state, so to speak. So yeah, it's big in several ways, and it was kind of funny too, because we're coming home. We went to Grand Island, Nebraska yesterday to cover a camp there that there was 14 high school teams from around the state competing in. And we were hustling home to get home to watch the Nebraska baseball game, which, unfortunately they fell to number one seed in the country, Arkansas, last night. Very, very, very big time year for the Nebraska baseball program, but that's neither here nor there. But we were just, 2 minutes away from pulling in to the office off of the interstate. And all of a sudden, my boss, Sean Callahan, gets the tweet or text or however he found out. But it's like, oh, my God, we just got to commit. And And that was the whole point, is that he wanted to go home and watch the baseball game. And so now all of a sudden he's calling, and our recruiting analyst, Brian Munson, was actually on the phone trying to get a hold of Chase right there and there, and saying, "Yeah, I'm on it." And so Sean had to, instead of go home and watch the baseball game, he had to go run up into the office and go write a commitment story. So the funny thing is that, this stuff always happens at a strange time, but like I said, the big news is that Nebraska gets their number one tight end target, and they're only going to take one tight end in this class, more than likely. Even though they do have two more coming in on official visits this month, which, as far as I know right now, are still planned. But this is kind of cool, and it just gets the ball rolling that much more. And it's the third commitment in this class, and like I said, plenty more to come.
Greg, I like to go to those recruiting rankings and read off the position ranking and the national rank and all that. So I got nothing here. But what's strange about this one, I don't know if you'll be able to shed some light on this. So he's not ranked positionally or nationally, but Rivals has him listed as the number 5 recruit in Minnesota. How can that happen?
Well, again, we've been dealing with this COVID situation where it's really hard for analysts to get out and see people in person, and there haven't been any camps to go to until just now. So, ranking kids, especially from a state like Minnesota that doesn't have a lot of coverage, that you need to get those kids out to camps and stuff to get in front of eyeballs, to get those kind of rankings, because, like I've said before, it's not really fair just to rank kids off of watching their film, because you don't know what kind of competition they're going up against and stuff like that. But with that, we already know that he plays against a high level of competition and stuff like that. So, like I said, that's just something that in time. And especially if you're committed to a Power 5 school, you're going to get a power ranking pretty quickly after that, if you haven't had one yet.
I'm going to make a mental note to ask you 1 week about your impressions of PJ Fleck's work at Minnesota on the recruiting path. But we got plenty to talk about tonight. But with him being plucked away from Minnesota, and me talking to PJ Fleck the other night and really looking at his recruiting rankings, where he's raised at about 25 to 30 spots over what was being done there. I'm just curious about your impression there, but we'll get to that another week. Mike 3883, Dewey Cox, Navy Thomas.
Navy's back in. I love it.
I'll have to get back to some of those comments he's making. Of course, they have nothing to do with what we're dealing with this week, but it's just so funny. Navy Thomas not happy with the 3-4, what he calls crap defense.
Never has been, never will be, and we're not ever going to change his mind on that. So, sorry, Navy. I know you haven't been in a couple of weeks, but yeah, you've been harping on me with that for a couple of years now, and that's just the way that they want to do things here nowadays. So,
hey, Navy Thomas, I'm with you on this one because of this. I'll connect with you on this one because this is coming from a guy who named his son Landry. You know where that came from? Who invented the 4-3 defense? Tom Landry did. So I'm right there with you, Navy Thomas.
Or a hat, yep.
All right. Dewey Cox, I believe Greg is talking about MJ Morris here. I would guess.
Yeah, he is. It absolutely is. You know what? The jury's going to be out on this, and I will be honest with you, Dewey. Nebraska's the one who backed off on MJ Morris. It wasn't anything to do with him on that. So they kind of just they moved on. Richard Torres is their number 1 quarterback target, who was just in Lincoln last weekend. And I'll tell you what, I saw him in street clothes. He didn't work out. But my goodness, he is an impressive look. I mean, he looks like an NFL guy. He's 6'6", 210 or something, 212. But his stature is amazing, and I think he's actually, if he commits, which he had an amazing visit. Didn't need to even throw in front of the coaching staff. And like I said, he's the tallest quarterback that Nebraska would have ever recruited and signed in the modern recruiting era. So it's kind of cool. And, nothing against MJ Morris, but I think there was just some kind of disconnect there. And Nebraska decided that they're not going to mess around because he visited for the spring game and had a great visit, but then decided to keep putting his commitment date off, and went to the Elite 11, and I just think that they just got off of the same wavelength that they might have been on at one point. So good luck to MJ Morris, and Nebraska, I think, has already got their guy, and probably will be made public fairly soon here. If I was a gambling man.
Talking Nebraska football here each and every week with you. So please join the live chat. We appreciate everybody's contributions. Keep in mind that you can contribute, whether that be to this channel just in general, to the Voice of College Football, or to this specific show by hitting us up on PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App. Just search MarkRogersTV. And if you want it designated to Nebraska in particular, just put Nebraska on there, and that will definitely work. We appreciate everybody being here. We're talking Nebraska football again, and you got to subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications, because sometimes we got to change the schedules because we've all got our various things going on. So sometimes we got to dodge the schedule around a little bit. So if you hit that bell for the notifications, you know when we're going live. All right, let's go to whatever you think is the most important next. Whether that's we go back a few days and review what happened last weekend, who was here, your impressions, what you heard out of the recruits, and what they had to say, maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was the first Friday Night Lights camp for Nebraska on Friday, and most of, and this is the way it works every year, is that Friday Nights 1 is pretty much local guys, in-state guys, and maybe some surrounding state guys. But then you have the official visitors that are there, which are all kind of the big-time guys that don't work out. So the next one coming up on June 18th is the one where you will see more national recruits and stuff working out. That being said, though, it didn't disappoint at all. There was a lot of in-state guys that there were offers made. There were some guys that really were impressive. They after the camp they made it, or actually it was right before the camp. They made an offer to Lincoln Southeast offensive tackle Gunnar Gatula. His father is the head coach at Lincoln Southeast, and Gunnar has put the work in and received an offer from Nebraska. And I think I was talking with Sean yesterday, and I think Sean's gone through the numbers. And in the modern recruiting era now, that's the 18th offer that a Lincoln Southeast player has gotten, since Rivals.com has been around, which is pretty impressive, to say the least. Out of one high school in the city, which includes like inside linebackers coach Barrett Ruud, who played in the NFL for many years. But that being said, a lot of other kids really did impress. Actually, and we got to see one of them yesterday out at this jamboree that we attended. And that's a kid out of Grand Island Northwest. His name's Victor Isley. And he's an outside linebacker prospect, and he's a quick twitch guy. Really, really tough to. He beats everybody off of the line, and I saw him at the camp on Friday night, and I saw him yesterday, and he's doing the same thing to whoever they lined up against him. And he also attended the Rivals camp in Indianapolis, and also performed well there. So and he's a 2023 kid, so he's a guy that we're looking at for next season, and look for him to get a Nebraska offer here sooner or later. But then moving on, there was also Mac Owens, who's a 2022 outside linebacker or inside linebacker. He could go either way. He's out of Aurora, Nebraska. He held the private workout last week, last Friday before the Friday Night Lights camp in front of Coach Frost and Coach Rude, and was pretty impressive there. And he's also he's going to go visit Vanderbilt and Northern Illinois here coming up in the following weeks. So there were some good kids to see there, and then just kind of piggybacking on to what I saw yesterday. There's a linebacker prospect from North Platte, Nebraska, and his name is Vince Genitone, and he really impressed me quite a bit. He's coming in this Friday for a private workout with Coach Rude, and he was just at Cal over the weekend and worked out at Cal out there in Berkeley on Sunday, and flew home, got home at 3 a.m. Sunday, and then they made it down to Grand Island for team camp at noon. And he actually broad jumped a 10.7 out at Cal. He's a very impressive three-sport athlete, state champion wrestler, runs track, plays baseball. He's a very impressive young man, and I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever that he doesn't come away with an offer after his workout this Friday in front of the coaching staff. So a lot of good stuff going on right now, and then we got a 7-on-7 camp coming up on Sunday that we get our first chance to go see since they've been holding these, and there'll be over 100 teams that are competing, and the teams come in from out of state for this. So it's just crazy, and plus we've got I think we've got 6 confirmed official visitors coming in for this weekend as well. And when you add that on top of last weekend's official visitors, that they will have had their number one quarterback, their number one running back, their number one receiver, number one tight end who's already committed, 2 of their top 3 offensive line prospects, and 2 of their top defensive line prospects have already visited officially just on June 4th. So it's just crazy right now, and I love it.
Good stuff. Got Greg Peterson on the line from Husker Online, talking of the Huskers. And, of course, June has got its weekends full of recruits coming to Lincoln to check out Nebraska University. Appreciate everybody's comments. We want to make sure we get all the recruiting news and all that perspective definitely in. We'll get to as many comments and questions as possible, but many of them are things that can be answered throughout the summer. But I will get those to Greg as much as possible. This, of course, I had to duck out here for a second, so I don't know if you had acknowledged or got to the GI football jamboree.
That's what I was getting at from yesterday. The prospects that we had just seen. All 3 of those linebackers that I had just mentioned that have either already worked out in front of the coaching staff last Friday, or Vince Genitone, who I was talking about, who's going to be here this Friday. And a very interesting story about Genitone. It might sound like I have a man crush on him. I just met him yesterday, but his father played at Washington State. It was a linebacker at Washington State. Has coached D1 college football. He was a coach on the Washington State staff as well as other staffs. And they moved from Wyoming to North Platte, Nebraska last year because they both work for a doctor that I'm not sure the whole story. He specializes in some kind of treatment, and he was like a football coach. He said, if I'm going to move to North Platte, Nebraska, I'm bringing my whole staff. So his mom and dad both work for him, and so they moved to North Platte, Nebraska, and this is a diamond in the rough. Like I said, this kid he did a broad jump at 10.7 on Sunday at Cal, and is going to come in and run the 40. He hasn't run the 40 since he was a freshman, but he's going to run the 40 in front of Coach Frost, and he's already got offers from Montana, Northern Arizona, and drawing a blank on the other one. But he's already a kid that's on the radar. And you know what? When I think Barrett Ruud sees him tomorrow, he's going to remind Barrett Ruud a lot of himself. So, or when he sees him on Friday. So, yeah, it was a very, very, very good camp. Just for what we got out of it, and just to see some June football. I mean, these kids were in full pads and going at it. So I loved it. It was great.
Very cool. Appreciate everybody on the line. Hope you appreciate Greg being here every week to talk Nebraska football. So please support the show in any way possible. You can start by liking the video. Share this video out on social media. You can do that in a number of ways. Obviously, just grab the link or grab the channel link. Just send it out there. Let people know that we're here. We're 35 subs away from 1,000. We would love to get to 1,000 very soon, so please help us do that. Check out Greg's work, Husker Online. So that's obviously the rival site for Nebraska, huskeronline.com. But also here on YouTube, tons of video regarding news conferences, player interviews, workouts, all of that. What's the latest you got on there, Greg?
Well, we just, like I said, we recapped our Friday Night Lights from Friday. We had the Shrine Bowl. Nebraska Shrine Bowl was just actually in Kearney on Saturday night as well. And then we had our recap from the GI football jamboree yesterday. And always throwing stuff in there. We had a lot of baseball coverage going on. But, moving forward here, I always got stuff on the back burner too that I haven't released yet. So I mean, there's always looking for times to do that. But we got a busy weekend coming up. Like I said, we got that 7-on-7 coming up on Sunday here, and we're gonna have tons and tons of coverage from that. Camp's coming up. It's crazy. We just heard from Jake Sharp. He old K-State standout at K-State. He's down in Wichita, and he throws on a camp every year. And he just got a hold of us yesterday, so we'll be heading down there here in late June. But it's crazy. I'm pretty much overwhelmed right now. I could be releasing stuff, but I just I'm trying to find the time to do that.
I hear you. We got 22 team channels here at the Voice of College Football, so dive into your favorite team or a ton of them, whatever you want to do there. The main channel, we're trying to focus on just national topics. You will see my player rankings there. You will also see, again, us tackle, with the College Football Playoff Committee announcing today that they've got a report coming in that's going to be announced and presented to the committee next week. We'll address that soon. Actually, following this show, I will be taking your calls on the main channel, addressing that and whatever you want to talk about with college football. All right, Dan, with the age-old question, I'll serve this up for Greg, and then I'll take my stab at it. Why doesn't the top 20 recruiting class equate to top 20 performance?
Well, let you in on a little secret there, Dan, that there's about 6 to 8 teams right now that dominate the recruiting rankings, and it's been pretty tough to crack that. And pretty much more like 4 that are the elite recruiters that you see that get a bunch of these 5-stars every year. But you know what? Everybody knows that your program's built by the 3-stars as well, and for the most part, after that top elite group of recruiting schools that you're seeing this cycle that happens year in and year out, which now, you know what, that's why is this debate that just got triggered today about a 12-team playoff? Because they're trying to, equal this thing out a little bit. So kids want to, not all go to Alabama or Ohio State. This is a big time business. It all comes down to business. And right now, there's 4 or 5 schools that are dominating this recruiting, and it all depends on the rest of the pack trying to, beat them by developing the guys that they get and trying to move forward in that. And if you're a Nebraska fan, obviously that hasn't been happening because you recruit at a high level, top 20 recruiting class year in, year out, but you got to develop it. But really, having the number 20 recruiting class isn't not very much different than having the number 30 recruiting class or the number 40 recruiting class or the number 50 recruiting class. It's very minuscule there about the difference about that.
I'll take it from another perspective, although that last point Greg made is another one I was going to make. So I will start out by saying the top 20 class in the nation, meaning if you do that over and over and over and over, typically does equate to about the 20th best team, generally. So look at the recruiting rankings and then look at the national polls at the end of the season and match them up year to year, and it's pretty close. But let's also understand that in any given year, this is not a perfect science. So the 20th best recruiting class, regardless of your service, but let's say the composite or rivals, wherever you want to go, the 20th best recruiting class, if somebody would want to go through the metrics and the logistics, that would be just exhaustive. I would love it. I don't want to do it. But if somebody else wants to do it, like 4 or 5 years later, re-rate and re-rank all the classes, well, we're going to find that the 20th, what's that?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
The 20th rated class in any given year may some years turn out to be the 29th best class, and other years the 18th best class, but it's probably going to average out to about the 20th. But on any given year, the process and the evaluation is not perfect. So let's understand that. It's really good, but it's not perfect.
Never.
The next thing is the development, like Greg addressed. Some programs are showing that they recruit great talent and then they develop it. Alabama, Ohio State. Other programs are like Texas. They would be the end of the extreme example of recruiting great talent and not developing it well. In the last 12 years, they're generally in the top 5 to 10, and they're losing 5 games a year. On the other end of the spectrum, you got Wisconsin bringing in top 40 talent and turning them into top 10 to 15 teams in the country. So they're on the other end of the spectrum, being able to develop these classes. Also, keep in mind where these particular programs are located, meaning if you're in the SEC and you're South Carolina, look at Will Muschamp's recruiting classes. They're 17th, 18th in the country. Well, they're also like 11th in the SEC. So that's kind of difficult against the competition. So there's a few other points there, but it's a good question.
Kids like to play close to home.
Yeah. Yep. Generally, they do. Absolutely. All right, Dan, good to see you. Moonbot as well, Dewey. And we've got Moonbot asking, will Nebraska have a 1,000-yard receiver this year?
I think they'll have 2. And then one with another 300 maybe. Yeah, and a tight end that actually has a couple hundred, maybe 300 yards. Yeah, I think you're going to see you have 2 dynamic receivers if they can stay healthy. That is, that's the age-old question. I mean, availability is everything. But in a perfect world, and you have Omar Manning and you have Samari Toure play every single game of the year, I think they both get 1,000 yards. And then you throw in Oliver Martin in there, who's going to get a good chunk too. So, yeah.
Although Skurstalk is saying, who needs any 1,000-yard receivers? Run the damn ball.
Age-old Nebraska question or, comment. Run the damn ball. We know that. Talk. I think you're going to finally be a little bit happier this season and see much more emphasis on the running game that we've seen in quite some time.
You made a comment a few minutes ago, Greg, about 3 stars, and I would love to get further explanation on this because I think it's fascinating to get more nuts and bolts into the process of these evaluations and how they come out in numbers. So you've got, again, depending on your service, but it's pretty close, 35 to 45 stars per year, correct?
Sometimes fewer than that. Yeah, I mean, but you never have more than about 40, more like around 30.
And then we go to the 4-star range, which seems to be what draws a lot of attention because there's just so few 5 stars. They're not on every street corner. But
I mean, to evaluate, a 5-star evaluation means that you're a surefire NFL draft pick coming out of high school. And you know what? We've already said it. It's not an exact science, and sometimes you miss on those guys. And that's when you take the heat on it. But how many times do all this? How many times does it come true? Pretty good high percentage on that.
And to Greg's point, if you ever see numbers of 5, 4, 3 stars that translate to NFL players, keep in mind the percentages. So you'll see sometimes if the article's written correctly, you'll see the percentage of 5 stars that reach the NFL is like crazy high. Now, the number's not high because there's just not many of them that exist. But the percentage is like, it just goes from 3-star, 4-star, and it just like up a hockey stick. So the other question I had for you, when you made the comment about building your program on 3 stars, I think we get caught up in the star rankings, and it means a lot, but we get a little too caught up because I think, again, because there's so few 5 stars, that there's only so many you can talk about, that most people that are rooting for a Nebraska level program that aren't really recruiting nerds, they only get jacked up when they hear 4-star.
Exactly.
They hear 3-star and they're like, a 3-star.
Another one. Yeah.
That 3-star, so would you say the 4-star, and again, depends on the service, but generally we go from about the 40th ranked player in the country to about 350, something in that range with those 4 stars.
Yep.
And then after that, I think the biggest variation, so we got a pretty good idea, even with the 4 stars, how talented those players are. Once you get to 3 stars, there seems to be this huge variation. You could be a low-end 3-star and you're a marginal prospect, as opposed to there's a ton of really talented 3 stars.
Well, right. And, the formula doesn't always work. And how many of these guys that went unrecruited, unranked, that you see playing in the NFL, that went to little-known schools, maybe didn't even have a scholarship offer coming out of high school. But, yeah, the 3-star is the backbone of your team. And, when you talk about that formula, a 4-star is basically a guy that is a surefire D1 starting type player. And then you go down to a 3-star, which basically means that you are a D1 prospect. 2-star, you kind of drop off to say, basically you're kind of being told that you're more of a lower level guy. But you know what? There's been plenty of 2-stars that make the NFL as well. But as many teams that are out recruiting across the country, trying to get guys from other states and stuff like that, you have to live on 3 stars because that's your pool. And, I think you just kind of throw rankings out of the whole equation at some point when you go out and look at a kid And you know he's a football player. You know he can compete at a D1 level. And I don't care where we're talking about. South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Wyoming, Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, any of these schools. You know what? You're building your program on these guys. And right now, Nebraska just got their third commit of this class. Right now, Wisconsin is sitting on one. Iowa has either one or two. So, you know what? This whole thing right now for schools in this part of the country, Nebraska is actually doing a little bit better than everybody since the times that we're living in with the way recruiting's been.
Got Alex LaFleur asking about Nash Hutmacher. Asked about him last week, brought him up last week. Now I'm going to ask, what are your thoughts about Noah Pula-Gates? Do you think he'll get some playing time at all?
I love Noah Pula-Gates. This kid, once he starts to get some good playing time, fans are going to fall in love with him. Not that they don't already know about him. I first met him at the U.S. Army All-American game down in San Antonio. We went down to cover him. Same class with Wandale Robinson and Bryce Benhart and all those guys. He dealt with some injuries over his freshman year and then, last year with the COVID and stuff. But you know what? He's going to get his chance, and he is going to shine because every time that his name has ever been brought up to the DB coach, Travis Fisher, his eyes light up when he talks about Noah. And I know I understand that because my eyes light up about him when I talk about him too. Just I love his attitude, I love his swagger, and he's a darn good football player, and he's going to get his chance here. He's playing with two seniors this year that have played a heck of a lot of football. So next year is when I think you expect for a breakout year for Noah Pula-Gates.
Coming out of that 2019 class. Newstrick, I think Frost has been doing fine developing men physically, but I'm not convinced how well they are developed mentally. I think he's, referring to they fight hard on the field, but maybe some of the decision-making, the poise on the field, not what it should be.
That's a hard thing to answer. I don't agree with it. I think it's just been a problem of understanding what kind of recruits you need to get in here, and quite frankly, missing some duds in recruiting high-ranked kids out of the state of Florida, especially that don't fit the Nebraska mold, that don't want to put the time into everything. It's a grind. You have to be able to spend 100% of your time developing yourself. And I think there's just been too many kids that have come in here in the last couple of recruiting classes that just weren't the kind of kids that you thought they might have been. So I think, long story short, I think you're going to see a big difference in that in the next few years.
So the Public's Eye Outdoors host, Lonnie Clark, what a handle there, is asking about, yes, making a statement.
We had to squint to read the whole thing.
That must be asking about Tyreke Johnson, the Ohio State defensive back, who, speaking of 5 stars.
Absolutely. Former 5-star safety out of the 2018 class, who's a corner, who hit the transfer portal out of Ohio State. And if I was going to put money down in Vegas tonight, I would probably say that he's a Husker here by the end of the week, if I can be blunt about that. Yeah.
We like you to be blunt, Greg. We'll take it.
Yeah, you don't want me rambling on about this one, do you? No, I mean, Jacksonville, Florida, like I said, 5-star out of rivals coming out of high school. And, you like to have, you were looking at another corner there because you've got, obviously you got Cam Taylor-Britt on one end, and you've got some guys that haven't played a lot of football over there. So Tyreke Johnson likes Nebraska a lot, and like I said, I think he's going to be a Husker here in a matter of days, and add some depth to that cornerback spot and some leadership, and we'll see. Maybe Coach Frost can develop a 5-star. We'll see.
Speaking of which, we'll get to that question in just a second. I want to remind everyone that's on the line, we've got 53 on the line. That's the highest number that we've had joining the live stream for this hour. So you know what you need to do. Watch the rest of the show, then wait for the video to post, which will take about 15 minutes. You can catch Greg running down last weekend and previewing this upcoming weekend in Lincoln with all the recruiting visits. So Dan is asking, when's the last time Nebraska had a 5-star recruit?
Baker Steincooler.
Okay.
Out of Lincoln Southwest. You remember his dad, Dean Steincooler.
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember him too, but definitely remember Dean. All right. David, should Nebraska bring in a new offense that is fast-paced, run with play-action pass, think 2-minute drill passing, but you play under center in the power I, modern twist in Nebraska's 90s team?
I'm not sure I understand that one.
He's got a couple different offenses working there.
Yeah, I think we've already tried a new offense. With the play action and stuff. I think you do. I mean, I kind of understand where he's going there. You want to see a mix of what made Nebraska, a dominant team, absolutely. And the biggest thing I think we talk about that this team lacks is an identity, and that's what they need the most. They need an offensive identity, and this coaching staff has played around with what they were successful with at Oregon and at Central Florida, and obviously it doesn't work in the Big Ten. So, it's taken a few years, it's taken a little bit longer than people wanted it to and expected it to, but they're on the right track. I think that their offense is gonna do things that you've been wanting to see them to do for a while, and then have also that added ability of some dynamic playmakers on the outside. So I would look forward to it if I were you.
Help us build the channel and this particular show. Subscribe, hit the like button, do all the good things that we needed to do, and we appreciate everybody who goes out there and spreads the word. I usually send out a tweet sometime during the day, maybe 4 or 5 hours before the show, then send one out, within a half hour or two right at the time that we're going. So you can be looking out for that tweet, send it out, retweet it, get it out there, or just talk to people. Let people know, hey, we talk Nebraska football every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, 7 Central. We're here talking Nebraska football with you. Get the word out. We would love to have a big crowd in here as we head toward August camp. Well, we do have a few minutes, so maybe I will hit you with my question. My question basically something from Minnesota football the other day, and I'm looking at the recruiting rankings, and nothing surprised me there because PJ Fleck's been between about 38 and 45 his 4 recruiting cycles, which is a good 25 spots, 30 spots better than they were. They were in the mid-60s to low 50s the 5 or 6 years prior to PJ Fleck. We know that he's generally liked. He's got a big personality, draws people to himself and into the program. But, is there anything in particular when you review Minnesota as a division rival that you think PJ Fleck has done well on the recruiting trail to raise those rankings by 25 spots or so?
Well, I think you already hit it on the head right there. That he's got a big personality, and kids gravitate towards that. Before he got there, Minnesota had, Glenn Mason. I don't know how great of a people person he was and stuff like that. And Minnesota's always had recruited at pretty much that same type of level. But PJ comes in here and he understands. He's a younger guy. He understands the recruiting game. Worked his way up through the ranks. Started out at some fairly unknown schools and was very successful. And he wasn't successful at those other places because he didn't know how to recruit kids. So, one of the biggest things in this is being a good recruiter and understanding recruiting, and being like similar to Nebraska, that you're in the middle of the country. You don't have a huge in-state base of talent that you can draw off of year in and year out. So you have to go out of state to recruit, and that's where PJ Fleck has shined. He brings in guys from Florida, he brings in guys from New Jersey, stuff like that, and he understands how he has to play the game, and he understands the social part of it, and that's what makes him successful. And he's such a charismatic guy that even if they're losing, he makes you feel good. So, yeah, I'm a PJ Fleck fan.
Yeah, because with guys like him, of course, they're going to get criticized because if you don't know him personally or it's not proven yet, then it comes across as very salesmanship, used car salesman type, not demeaning the profession of being a used car salesman, but I think everybody understands where I'm going. But he's able over time to back that up with truly showing the players that he cares about them. And that seems to be what they're saying is the players vouch for him. They love him.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first battle. We talked earlier about the recent commit to Nebraska out of the state of Minnesota, whose mother believed that Scott Frost has every intention. I mean, the best intentions for her son's future. He sold that to her with not even proper talking to her. And, PJ Fleck is the same kind of guy. You win the parents. You win mom. You win dad. You win the battle.
Good stuff from Greg Peterson. You can join him on Husker Online. Of course, that's on Rivals. And then right here on YouTube, the video portion of that, Husker Online, just put it right there in the search bar. Of course, lock it in here at the Voice of College Football, our Nebraska show. I see we've hit the 60 mark in terms of people being here online. So you know what that means is you've missed most of the show. Watch the show once it posts. But also remember for next week that you can get in here on time. And if you remember that it's 7 o'clock Central Time, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, do the conversion wherever you're located, but 7 Central. And we're here talking Nebraska football every Tuesday night. Once in a while, we've got to switch it up based on schedules. That's a good reason why you should subscribe and hit the bell for the notifications. Please get us to 1,000. It's a key number here on YouTube. Get us to 1,000. And of course, please consider, you see down at the ticker below, Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. You just want to contribute to everything. That's one thing. But if you're really focused on Nebraska football, please make a notation there, Nebraska, if you send in a contribution. All right, Greg, anything else tonight?
Oh, boy. You know what? There's always something else that we always forget that would have loved to talk about. But, yeah, I in general, like I said, we got so many more camps coming up. And also the Big Red Blitz is going on starting next week, which basically is something that they did. I think it was Coach Frost and staff's first year, where they all kind of go out across the state and speak at different places, and kind of a meet and greet with a lot of Nebraska fans from smaller communities across the state, which is kind of cool. So we'll be out there covering all of that as much as possible as well. I think that starts June 16th. But like I said, a big visit weekend coming up again. Most of their number one and number two targets are gonna visit here within the first couple of weekends, possibly to be done. So right now, recruiting is just ramping up, and it's getting very exciting. So, like you said, tell everybody, tune in next week, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more new things and good things to talk about as far as Nebraska football goes.
And you know what? We've got about 11 to 12 weeks before the season starts. Depending on how you divide positions, offense and defense, there's about 11 or 12 positions. Maybe we tackle one position per week if we've got the time, and we get everybody geared up through August for Illinois. We could do that as well.
Absolutely. Oh, and there was one thing. Let me add, too. And
yeah.
This was a question that we had last week about Thomas Fidoni's recovery and stuff. I had eyes on him last Friday night at Friday Night Lights camp, and he was walking around, didn't show any signs of any kind of problems with that knee and that leg. So he looks like he's on track with his recovery, as far as I know, just from seeing his body language and stuff last Friday night.
Moonbot7 is needing help from you, Greg, to push the Yanty as Yanty nickname.
Yanty is Yanty. Okay, well, throw me some suggestions, and we'll work on that one there, Moonbot.
All right. Love this show. Nebraska Football Talk. Greg's been here 20 times to help us out with Husker Football Talk, and it's usually on Tuesday night. That's our scheduled time. May have to switch once in a while, but usually Tuesday night, 7 Central. So be here next week. We appreciate everybody's contributions, whether that's the like, sharing the videos out there. Consider contributing as well. You see there on the bottom of the ticker, and get us to 1,000 subs here quickly, please. Greg, it's always a good time. Appreciate you, since, like you say, you've got so much going on. It's crazy, but taking an hour plus for us here.
Love being out there. Just love it now. It's so much better than it has been over the last year.
All right. We'll see everybody here back next week, 7 Central, 8 Eastern.